Hi there, my name is Katie Groves, and this is part 6 in my series on preventing reaccessing from trauma-based mind control programming. If you have not done so already, I ask that you please watch the first 2 parts of my deprogramming series, linked in the description below, for disclaimers and safety measures you can take while watching these videos. In this video, I'm going to be talking about identifying and connecting with inner loving parent alters. This goes in conjunction with my last video in this series on identifying and working with easily accessible child alters, which I will link in the description below. In that video, I talked about, what it sounds like, looking for parts in my dissociative system that are young and easily manipulatable, who may be engaging in reporting programming or some kind of callback programs, and how to work with them, redirect them from engaging with abusers to being a healthy part of the system. So in this video, I'm going to talk about one of my strategies for doing this, which is to identify the inner loving parent parts of the system, the parts of my system who can best help me do this. When I first had my big awakening from the mind control at the age of 17, I encountered a dissociative part that I at the time called my guardian angel part, and then I transitioned into calling that part my higher self, and now I just call that part me. But what that part is an inner loving parent aspect of the self. The inner loving parent is a phrase that I learned in the 12-step program Adult Children of Alcoholics, which I don't currently attend, but I've learned a lot from them. And they talk about the inner child, the inner loving parent, the critical inner parent, and the false self. And I'll put a link to the Adult Children of Alcoholics website in the description. They really do have some stuff that might be worth checking out if you are a survivor. So what does this really mean, though? What does this part really do? This part is love. This part holds space. And this part is maturity. It was, at the age of 17, the most adult part of my mind. The most matured, the most caring, the most nurturing, and the most motherly. And I've attributed largely feminine characteristics to this part. And these parts, as I've had multiple of them, but they need not be gendered. If you are more comfortable calling them mother or father or neither or something else, I support you in that. I just personally have found the idea of seeing this part in the feminine as the most helpful in nurturing my inner children. So, recognizing these parts has not always been easy. When I first made contact with the part, I didn't exactly know what it was. I only knew in retrospect exactly what I'd found. And for the first couple years of my deprogramming, I struggled deeply with confusion in programming designed to get me to think I was connecting with an inner loving parent part when I was really connecting with an inner programmer. I had dissociative parts that would mimic the inner parent frequently. And they even learned how to talk like she did, and how to even make me feel some of the warmth that she could make me feel. But what I learned is that I have a sense, an inner sense of how old an alter is when I interact with them. And that the inner programmer parts were almost always children. I can safely say I think that they were always children. And so one thing that really helped me was to intuitively gauge the maturity of the part. Not to listen so much to how they sound maturity-wise, like if the things they're saying and the tone of voice they're using inside sounds mature, but how do they feel to me? Do they register on a heart level as younger or older? And what I found was that I could feel out that the part that was mimicking the inner parent was a child. One of my main mimickers was about 8 or 9 years old in a subsystem, and they would pretend constantly to be the inner parent, but I could feel their age, their youth. So that's something that's really helped me. And also it's helped me to pay attention to, of course, what the part saying they're the inner parent says, if their advice is good, and if I'm getting any conflicting dualistic messages when I probe deeper into connection with them. So when I go inside deeper, kind of feel into the part and notice what thoughts are kind of surrounding the part inside and underneath them, I'll often notice, I'll always notice some conflict and some sense that the part doesn't really know what to think or what to believe, that they themselves are trapped in programming. That is, if they are fake. So if they're for real, I only experience a deeper, steadier sense of calm when I lean into them, unless I am taken out of it through some kind of redirection program. And so it's important for me the whole time I'm going inside to try and determine who I'm talking to be tracking, to be paying attention to what alters I can see inside, kind of popping in and out of consciousness. And if I find that there's some kind of switch inside, that I was leaning into a part that felt like an inner parent, but then suddenly I got taken out of that and I'm in some kind of confusion, then that doesn't mean that part was necessarily faking it. That part may have been for real, but I was put into a redirection program by another part or parts. So I know this stuff is complex and it can be really overwhelming for me to go inside and try and evaluate this stuff and figure out what's happening. And in the past, it's triggered so much sabotage programming, which I've made some videos about. If you go to the playlist for this series, you can find videos in recent times about that stuff. I've just struggled so much with the sabotage programming when I go to lean into parts like this and connect with inner parents. But I have learned how to navigate that stuff pretty effectively. I still struggle, but it's gotten way easier. And now, like I said, I have an inner parent part that feels like me. This part is me. I am an inner loving parent. I just also have other alters who I'm still dissociated from, who also play that role and hold that kind of space. So I do have multiples of us, but I am now actually integrated with one, and I get to do this for myself. So I hope that this has been helpful. I know I talk really fast. Honestly, it's really hot in here, and so that's part of why my speech is pressured. I want to get this done, but I am sorry if it's hard to follow because of that. I will say one thing though about that. This will be a long time from now that I'll actually have this video transcripted, but we are in the process, the very beginning stages, of transcribing all of our videos into written form on a blog, which I will put in the description below. So far, we've only made an introductory post, but in the next few days, hopefully we'll have our first one up of deprogramming part 1. And eventually we hope to have all of these videos in written form on a blog, in addition to the links to the videos, with both the original transcript of what we've said, with kind of our glitchiness, losing track of time, what we're saying, and grammatical errors, and also have edited versions in which we clean it up so that it reads as an article rather than a vlog. And we're hoping that this will make all this info more easily accessible, way more easily referenced by survivors and by allies, therapists, what have you, who want to actually sit down and study this information for themselves. Thank you.